welcome back to Crystal Intuition. Today I want to talk to you guys about my religious views on the Bible. So today we're going to be talking about the Garden of Eden, what I found in my research and knowledge, and what I personally believe happened in the Garden of Eden. You know, what really happened there. Okay, so if some of you have different opinions, please just view this as entertainment and move on. Because I know, especially the Christian people, you know, we're not all gonna have the same opinions about things. So this is just what I personally think happened, and also what a couple of my friends also think happened in the Garden of Eden. So the Bible has been adapted through the years. So we all know that the Bible originally was much bigger and there was a lot more in the Bible, okay? So the Bible you have today is very much adapted. It has been translated, it has been adapted and changed, and you know, there were some miscommunications here and there, but the original Bible was a really big piece of work. So there was also a couple of books in the Bible that they actually took out of the original Bible. So as they adapted the Bible through the years, they took out some of the books because they thought it wasn't important. But in personal theory, I think they only wanted the Christians and the people who are in these religions and everyone who, you know, reads the Bible to only have limited information about what is really in the Bible. So there were a couple of books in the Bible that was taken out, the biggest of them being the Book of Enoch. I have read a couple of chapters of the Book of Enoch. It's not an easy thing to find, but if you Google, there's a lot of audiobooks and things on YouTube as well about the Book of Enoch, and there's a lot of people who covered topics related to the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch was originally the book before Genesis. So Enoch was the great-grandfather or great-great-great-grandfather of Noah. So he was actually where Noah came from later on. And we all know the story of Noah and the ark. Okay, so I'm not going to dive into that today. But I do want to talk about what happened according to the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch talked about a time where there was giants, Nephilims. Now there's a difference between a giant and a Nephilim. A giant is simply a being, it's a giant. A Nephilim, however, was the spawn of an angel and a human. So originally that's what took place before the Garden of Eden. So Adam and Eve wasn't the first people on earth. There was lots of other people. Adam and Eve was merely a depiction of how God used to create man and woman. So originally Adam was actually married to a woman named Lilith, which the Christian Bible has demonized throughout the years. You don't hear her name much, but she was the first wife of Adam. And back then humans were created out of the earth. They were created purely out of the earth. But according to research, Lilith and Adam had a little bit of an argument because they wanted to be, she wanted to be equal to Adam. So Lilith kind of got a little offended because she wanted to be equal to Adam. She wanted to lay beside him. So when the time came for them to be, you know, intimate, you know, Adam wanted to be the one who took charge, and also did Lilith. So both of them wanted to be dominant, okay, if that makes sense. So they both wanted to be dominant, and that is what originally led to Lilith fleeing the garden. But what I also want you guys to know here is Lucifer, who was an angel of the Lord, he was the angel of music. So he was also God's most trusted angel, and he was, according to the scriptures, one of God's most beautiful angels. According to scriptures, Lucifer was madly in love with Lilith. So she fled the garden, and then God made Eve. While Adam was sleeping, God put him kind of like in this state where he wouldn't wake up. God sent down an angel to collect the rib from Adam, and there was some controversy what happened next. Some people think there was a battle with a demon and the angel who collected the rib, and then the demon took the rib, and then the angel cut off the tail of the demon, which he then delivered onto God, which was what Eve was made of. But that's only the one controversial story, but the story I'm going to stick with is the original, which said the angel collected the rib from Adam and he delivered it to God, and God made Eve out of the rib of Adam. So whichever version of the story you want to go with that. But that's originally what happened. But God also made Eve in the likeness of Lilith, so they looked very similar as well. So then what happened is Lucifer also fell in love with Eve because she looked so much like Lilith. So what then happened was the forbidden fruit, okay? So what happened is Lucifer and Eve, were intimate together. That was the forbidden fruit that the Bible talks about in Genesis. Because the Bible, if you go look very closely, every time the Bible mentions fruit, they usually talk about intimacy, S-E-X. They talk about intimacy. So that's a metaphor for that is fruit, okay? So I need you to bear that in mind. That was what the forbidden fruit was. And the snake was a metaphor for being cunning and deceiving. So Lucifer deceived Eve into being with him. So according to the book of Enoch, this is where things get interesting. Angels were actually very madly in love with humans. It wasn't that Lucifer was jealous of mankind, he was in love with mankind. And so too was many of the angels. So they very much so wanted to be with humans, but God forbade it, because he said the spawn of angel and humankind was said to be an abomination. So what happened is God forbade it, Lucifer did it anyway. That was the ultimate rebellion. And with that, a couple of other angels rebelled. But the way that angels deceived humankind was by offering them knowledge. Because humans are naturally curious beings. We were born this way, we were created this way. So the angels offered certain skill sets that they kind of did in heaven onto us in order for, us bearing their children. So Lucifer, obviously being the angel of music, taught us the art of music. It's pretty basic. Then the other angels gave us things like witchcraft, the beautification of the eyelids, blacksmithing, and the art of war, just to name a few things. So angels taught us music. They taught us the beautification of eyelids, which is makeup, okay? They taught us the art of jewelry making, blacksmithing, and the art of war. So all of these things originally came from angels. These were the forbidden knowledge we were said to not have because humans weren't created with that knowledge. That was the knowledge we got by, getting it on with angels. So what happened then is the Nephilims came to be. Spawn of human and angel kind was the Nephilims. They were gigantic. They were said to be bigger than the giants because angels in nature is very big beings. So I assume they probably, came to us in human form when, the whole thing went down. But the children later grew up to be gigantic as their fathers or mothers. So what happened then is they were very destructive and God did not like this. But then the angels thought it wasn't enough. They started being intimate with animals, which is where dinosaurs came from. They were said to be these really large, abominable creatures. And a lot of people think that this is where dinosaurs, dragons, and things like that actually came from. So God did not like all of this. The Nephilims were very destructive. So God imprisoned all of the angels, and he gave unto Enoch a message to deliver. The message was that God was to have all the Nephilims murder each other. And he had the angels watch. So basically the angels had to watch their own children murder each other, and they all died. And there is scientific proof of this. There was big bones found. People claimed it was dinosaur bones. They found huge skeletal remains of human with beings that seemed to look human. So that could also be the giants, but Nephilims were larger than giants. And they found big skulls, and then they found really big skulls. So, Nephilims and giants. And the book of Enoch also talks a lot about giants, because giants did coexist with beings at that time. So yeah, the Nephilims just murdered each other. The fallen angels were locked up, and humankind were supposed to be preserved. So the book of Enoch really goes into depth in these type of topics, but that is my theory about what really happened in the Garden of Eden. And then I I just want to mention something because I can't get this part out of my head because it just is so impactful to what we're actually experiencing in current day till today. There was these kings in the time of the Bible, and this is also in a part of the Bible that was taken out, but a couple of these kings had women. Okay, they back then men had more than one wife. Men in general tend to have more than one wife. So they made this weird draft that these kings would give the women that they would be intimate with that made them barren. It also slowly poisoned them, but it made them barren so that they cannot conceive, because those kings decided that childbearing women, you know, women with stretch marks, cellulite, you know, all that normal things, women that's a little overweight or that has a little excess skin, they found all women like that very repulsive. So they only wanted beautiful, skinny, slender women. So they gave them this draft to make them barren so they cannot conceive children, while also slowly poisoning them because they found childbearing women repulsive. So that's just a little bit of a shocker. That's just a little something extra I wanted to add in this video. Because today we have a really big problem with people shaming people who are overweight and things, and this is really nothing to do with the Garden of Eden thing that I talked about. A little off topic, but I really felt I wanted to just mention that here, because that part that I read was really interesting, you know, that they found childbearing women repulsive. I mean, there was cultures all over the world who worshipped women for their ability to give birth. So woman was said to be a sacred being, and that's how God created woman, was to be sacred, to partake in the creation of things. But yeah, since those men were vile, jealous, and greedy, and apparently stupid, because I don't think finding anyone, you know, unattractive based on their looks is, you know, a smart thing, because we are soul beings having a human experience. And what else I kind of just want to add here, it was a little part of the book I read, Conversations with God. I will link my book review videos down below, that you can go check it out for yourselves. The book Conversations with God really dives into the topic of how we were created. So originally in the Bible it said that we were created in the likeness of God. This wasn't meant physically, this was meant on a spiritual level. So according to what the book of Conversations with God describes, is we are technically God. We are little pieces of his soul broken down, and technically everyone is right and everyone is wrong at the same time about their theories about how the universe came to be. Some people think there was nothing and then there was something. Some people believe in the Big Bang, and everyone is actually correct. Technically it was like a Big Bang. There was a really big explosion. Think of this ball as God, okay? So God was this one thing. But then he expanded himself, and between this solid thing came space. It broke down into small particles, and in between it was filled with space. Time in itself is technically space. So in that space made it seem much larger. I mean, look at the universe, it seems so big, but originally it was just this one tiny part, and now it's everything. But from the moment of explosion, it slowly started contracting itself again because it wants to get back to its original form. So that is why we experience things. The purpose of us is to be on earth to experience, because as a soul being we are unable to experience. We know of things like fear, hate, love, but we are ultimate higher vibrational beings, so we only exist in a place of love and light. So our soul yearned to experience, or God himself yearned to experience himself. So he created everything. It was just this big decision, and a big explosion happened, and we all were created. And that is how God experiences himself. He experiences himself through us. That is also where things like manifestation and the law of attraction comes from, because we as humans actually have much bigger abilities than we think we have. We are capable of so much, because technically our souls are little parts of God. We are in harmony with God. Everything around you is God. And I read a little part in the second book review video that was so beautiful. You have to go watch that. The little piece I read there, it's just so beautiful. It's how God explains what he is, where he is, because he's everywhere, in everything, all the time. That's also something I just thought I wanted to talk a little bit about since we're on the Bible topic. So that's all I'm going to be talking about in this video today. Go check out those book review videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bless, guys. Bye!